Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first SummerWorks Career Sneak Peek Speaker Series. We're going to probably have a few people trickling in, but we have with us our featured speaker that's kicking off this week, Marc Alexander, President and CEO from Lite Tuition. And we're delighted to have you join us. My name is Michelle Galbraith. I work at Amy Cell Talent, and I will be facilitating today's session. With that, I would like to introduce our featured speaker, Marc Alexander, President and CEO from Lite Tuition. Marc is delighted to discuss the power of perception and how to achieve success from the classroom to corporate America. In his talk, Marc is going to highlight some of the various adversities that act as barriers to success and what it truly takes to be successful. Please welcome our speaker, Marc Alexander.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marc Alexander, President and CEO of Lite Tuition. I do want to take a second to thank Amy Cell, University of Michigan, Michigan Works, as well as the Washington County for this wonderful opportunity to join the SummerWorks Speaker Series. Definitely excited about it. Today, we're going to talk about the power of perception, how to achieve success from the classroom to corporate America. So just a few things. I call this the big three before we get into our presentation. Number one, take notes. Now, I want to make sure it's clear. It doesn't have to be 90 pages of notes, 5 pages of notes. Even if you write down 2 things from today's presentation, not just my speech, but every speech you hear throughout the week, that's going to be powerful for you. Just 2 notes. The second, use your notes to capitalize with any and everybody that you meet during this week's speaker series. You're going to meet entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, employers, educators, skilled trade people, so many folks that you can connect with, which is going to be powerful. One thing I want you to realize, during a lot of these speeches, you're going to get contact information. Do not be afraid to reach out to these people. This is now your opportunity to connect with some of the most influential people around the country, to control your own success. And of course, the most important thing of the big three is remember that you control your success. No one in this world can determine what you will become, who you are, or who you will be outside of you. So again, those are big three. Take some good notes, even if it's just 2 notes. Make sure you connect and capitalize with any and everybody you meet throughout this entire week of speakers. And remember, you control your success. So a quick little brief bio about myself. I'm the president and CEO of Lite Tuition, the hub for students to use when raising money for a tuition that they don't have to pay back. So if you're a student out there that needs help with your college tuition costs, visit us today at litetuition.com to start your free campaign. I'm also the president and founder of Lite Tuition Foundation. So this foundation, one of our key goals is to give out $16,000 anonymous checks to students across the country for their tuition. You're going to hear shortly in the video about my own story, how Lite Tuition got started. And this is one of our reasons for paying it forward through the foundation. I'm also the president and CEO of Marc the Alexander LLC. So if we have anybody out there that's an artist, musician, public speaker, big rule I'll tell you, own your name. So we own marcthealexander.com, Marc the Alexander LLC, but start those steps now. This is one good note to take if you're taking those 2 notes. Own your name and get those things established. Urban IPO LLC. I think a good quote to share is always grow your branches, but never forget your roots. I'm a young man from the city of Pontiac, so I try to find ways to either invest back either in people from Pontiac, my community, my neighborhood, but always grow your branches, but never forget your roots. I'm currently in Clinton Township, so involved in a few different things, Zoning Board of Appeals, Prince Jury Advisory Board Committee member, Cultural Diversity Committee member for the township, as well as a former school board member for Clintondale Dragons, go Dragons, as well as former investor for Valor Standard Investments, Youth of Tomorrow, which was the first business endeavor I got going, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the presentation, as well as author and motivational speaker. So we're going to share with you real quick a little bit more about Lite Tuition. My name is Marc Alexander, and I'm the president and CEO of Lite Tuition. Lite Tuition is a fundraising platform for college students of any experience, any age, any background to use to help raise money for their tuition costs. So the way Lite Tuition works is we allow the students to create their own profile to tell their very unique story about their college experience. From there, their story is shared with people around the country to help raise contributions for their college tuition. Now, the unique thing with us is the money raised goes directly to the school and not the student. So that way we can guarantee that that money will reach that tuition versus the student's pocket. For me, Lite Tuition isn't just a business, it's a life mission. Back in 2009, I was a struggling senior at Kennedy University. I was in my last year of school and could not afford to go to college, unfortunately, due to financial reasons. Luckily, we were doing some powerful things in the city of Flint. This wonderful news reported an article on us in the Flint Journal. It reached the right person, and in March of 2009, I received an anonymous $16,000 to pay for my last year of school. The one thing that the letter said was to pay it forward in my successful career. And that stuck with me from that day. It was like a Disney movie. Something like this does not happen to your average person. And I realized at that point going forward, I have to make sure I pay this forward. And that's what Lite Tuition is for me. So one goal we have and one promise I made with that gift I received is to pay it forward 16 times over. So we have a foundation, Lite Tuition Foundation, and we want to make sure we can give enough money to the foundation to give out $16,000 anonymous checks to students to pay for their tuition. And the goal is to create more Marc Alexander moments for them. So I imagine if I have 16 Marc Alexanders around there, either starting other programs like this or encouraging other youth to go to school, we're going to make a powerful impact in the world, even if we change it just 2%. So in order to get involved in Lite Tuition, just visit us at www.litetuition.com, and the sign up is easy and free. So again, that is Lite Tuition. So what we're going to talk about now, this is our first question that we're going to present to everybody for our poll. Have you ever been told that you cannot achieve a dream or goals that you wanted to complete? So again, have you ever been told that you could not achieve a dream or goals that you wanted to complete? A for yes, B for no, or you can even simply type in C for I do not share my dream and goals with others. So again, there's no right or wrong answer. Of course, you're going to learn that some people you can share your dreams with, some people you can't, and sometimes there's nothing wrong with shielding your own self just to make sure you're protected. So the reason I asked this question is because the most important thing with this perception is to realize that the world ends where the mind stops thinking. I'm gonna say it again, the world ends where the mind stops thinking. So I'm gonna share with you my own personal experience, my reason for showing my professional updated resume about what I do now is to show you where I came from. Because a lot of times we think that we have to come from a wealthy family, a successful family, we have to have all these resources, but that's not the case. The second you change and you realize that you control your own success is going to make you powerful. So let's take a look at my old life, and I'm going to show you how I had to then look differently to my new life. So here are some of the obstacles that I experienced growing up. I grew up without a father. Mother was diagnosed with cancer. I grew up poor, lost loved ones due to gun violence, struggled financially to get through college, lost loved ones due to medical issues. And even with everything that's taking place, and keep in mind, this is a short list. There's some of you right now that might be going through more. You might look at this list and say, you know what, that's a Sunday afternoon for me. But just know that no matter what you're going through, you control your success. So what I had to do, even going through my own experience that I want you guys to start doing today, is change your perspective. I had to look at my life from a different angle to find out what I could do to change it. So we have a quick activity that we're going to do. It's called obstacles into opportunities. Now, granted, you don't have to write anything down. I just want you to merely take your own notes and need or reflect on your own life. So I'm going to talk about an obstacle I had, how I then had to change the obstacle and see the opportunity that I had. So we're going to do 2 today. Write down your own, just keep it for your personal notes to start working on ways to change that to something powerful. So my first obstacle, not being able to afford to take classes during my last year of school. So that was challenging. And this is why. I get to school, I meet all these powerful and engaging people. We worked so hard to finally get to that senior year to graduate. As I shared with you all, I struggled financially and was not able to graduate on time. So for myself, I had to watch the people I came in with graduate. Sit in the audience, cheering them on, excited about the opportunities that they're about to pursue. What made it even more challenging was then to turn around and watch the class behind me graduate. And one step further, to watch the class behind them get ready to graduate. Here I am sitting on campus, watching all these people experience this moment that I can't afford to experience. And it was devastating for a young man. But again, how can I look at that obstacle as an opportunity? So for me, seeing my peers graduate made me value my education more now than I did prior to the obstacle. Think about this. Had I not experienced that obstacle, I would have never started Lite Tuition. So wherever you're going through, there's going to be something powerful and positive that's going to come from it. You just have to give it time and look at it from a different perspective. Let's take it a step further. Earlier childhood, not having my father in my life, that was rough. To go outside, I see all my friends playing catch, going to functions, just simply having their father around was challenging. So here you have the young man that wants to be this successful, positive person, wondering, why am I struggling with this? Why don't I have my father? Why doesn't my father love me and want to be around me? It was so challenging to embrace. But again, every obstacle can turn out to be an opportunity if you give it time. So for me, the opportunity was, that was my drive to be a strong and positive man. That strong and positive man turned me into the man that I am today. And even an additional blessing with that, my father and I have the strongest relationship now. But it took for me to go through that obstacle to get me prepared to be the leader that I am, to be able to have this strong bond that I have with my father. Now, one thing we're going to do, I'm not going into too much detail with some of these experiences because we want to leave it open for the Q&A. Because like a lot of you, I've experienced a lot, and you might be going through something 10 times as hard. So feel free to ask some of those challenging questions at the end of the presentation. So remember what we talked about at the very beginning, take notes. And these notes just aren't for the speaker series, but for your own life. So write down your dreams to make them your reality. So I'm going to share a quick quote. The difference between a dream and a goal and a plan is a goal. You now have to start writing down these goals you want to achieve. These are now the steps and the building blocks to reach that success, that dream that you want to now turn to your new reality, whether it's in the classroom, becoming an honor roll student, or in the corporate America, becoming a leader, a division leader, a president, owning your own company. It doesn't matter, but you have to start writing down those goals. Another reference I'm going to take from Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. The Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he that readeth may run with it. Now, here's the powerful reference behind that. Sometimes we think we have to have a 30-page, 100-page business plan or 5 sheets of goals. Make it simple for you to understand. It doesn't have to be anything detailed, elaborate. It can be one sentence. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a skilled trade person. No matter what it is, make it plain and simple that you understand it, that you are able to embrace this vision, this plan, and run with it. So for a quick activity, I'm going to share with you what I had to do to get my own self prepared and planned for. So for me, I wrote down my dream. My start date my assigned due date, and my day of completion. Now, here's a unique thing. Once you write it down, it becomes concrete. It becomes a contract between you and your success about what you're going to do starting today to get there. So I wrote down my start date, when I wanted to get it done. Now, a unique thing for doing an assigned due date, for those of y'all who are still in school, have you had a teacher that say, you know what, I'm gonna give you a homework assignment today, just turn in whatever. If I see you in 10 years, turn in there. They give you an assigned date to make sure it's concrete on when you need to have that assignment done. So if the teachers are doing it to you for homework assignments, why not do that same exact thing to yourself for your own success? Give yourself a start date, a due date. Now here's the unique flip. Notice at the very end, it says date of completion. You're going to experience hardships, setbacks, or early accomplishments. So if you don't make that due date, it's not something tragic or bad. You might make it 5 days later, 5 weeks later, even 5 years. You might need that time just to get you prepared for that new level of success that you will achieve. In hindsight, you might achieve that due date even sooner. But writing it down gives you something tangible to now seek. So again, write down your dream, put the start date, hopefully it's today, assign due date. And again, it doesn't have to be something that's done today. It could be something down the road, years from now. And then give yourself that day of completion. And once you complete that task and you put that date that you've done on, it's going to be so rewarding. So I'm going to share with you a quick story. We talked about in the very beginning, Youth of Tomorrow. So this was the first entrepreneur endeavor that I ever did. Youth of Tomorrow was an innovative educational program for inner city youth. We had some of the best programs out there. Engineers of Tomorrow. You have young people using the same CAD program as some of the top engineers. Solid Edge, Unigraphics, SolidWorks, all types of community programs. They built solar power houses, miniature fuel cell vehicles, and they had the opportunity to showcase their wonderful skills at their banquets. Another unique program we did was called our Future All-Star Program. So amazing. Students went through training camps. They went through their own draft. They met team owners, the coaching staff team. They played their games the same place the Pistons played, at the Palace Army Hills. They had the championship moments, those wonderful experiences of opening the sparkling cider, non-alcoholic, and celebrating. And then something that was very unique, the SSA program, Special Security Agency. Here you have young people that are now leaders within the security realm. They had their own vests, custom suits. They had bulletproof vests, the earpieces, everything agents had, these young men and women had as well. They did security for local politicians, entrepreneurs, and local celebrities. In this particular picture, you have 2 young men from the city of Pontiac doing security for, at that time, the governor of Michigan. These are 2 teenage young men from the city of Pontiac doing security for the governor of Michigan. As next pose, you have at this time, Tim Milton with the Promise Zone, those same 2 young men doing security, his detail for that entire day. That was our Special Security Agency program, and that was Youth of Tomorrow. Now, the reason I wanted to share this story is to take you back during my time at college. So here I am, this young, vibrant man, excited about life, this great nonprofit impacting so many youth around the country, and especially the city of Detroit, Pontiac, and in Michigan, on campus, about to meet one of our new professors, a new entrepreneur on campus, had a nonprofit as well. I'm like, this is going to be exciting. I'm going to hear so much great information that's going to help take Youth of Tomorrow to the next level. So what I did, and I call it sticky notes of success. Everywhere in my dorm room, I had a note that said I would be a millionaire by 25. In my dresser drawer, you open it up, there's a note inside there. I would be a millionaire by 25. I had to dress like this new millionaire. I opened up my closet door. On the window, it would say I would be a millionaire by 25. So that way I seen that millionaire in that reflection, reminded myself, you are going to be great. Before I left out my dorm room door, there's a back note that said I would be a millionaire by 25. So I left that room that day feeling confident. Nothing was going to stop me. I go meet this new professor. I sit down. He says, Mark, good morning. Tell me about Youth of Tomorrow. So I tell them all the great things we're currently doing, all the great programs that's to come. And I'm just excited. You can see the energy just poured onto the table of this conversation. He sat back, smiled. That's great. I love that. But it won't work. What you should do is I have a nonprofit as well. Come work for me. Put that same passion into my programs. And then you can learn a few more things and go on to achieve those ideals you spoke of. At that point, he continued on, but for me, the conversation had got quiet. I seen his lips moving, but I was just so defeated. I put so much joy, so much love and passion into this program, this initiative, this company, just to hear somebody say that it won't work. I should scrap the company and come work for him. I went back to my dorm room that day and I felt defeated. Closed the door, even looked back at it to see the note. I'll be a millionaire by 25. Closed my closet door because I was just so down. I didn't want to look at my own reflection at that moment. I didn't even see the note. Closed my drawers, didn't even look at any of the notes. I just put my head in the pillow, just devastated. Remember in the very beginning, I asked that first question, do you share your dreams and goals with people? And there was no right or wrong answer. But I ask those questions because you have to prepare yourself for every single moment that you're going to go through. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. So that moment as I'm laying in the bed, I roll over and I look at the ceiling. I start smiling because I knew I would have a down day like this. So in preparation of this day, I put on the ceiling, I will be a millionaire by 25. To remind me that no matter what happens in my life, who comes in front of me, I am going to control my own success. I'm not going to let someone that didn't walk in my shoes, know what I went through, tell me what I am going to be in life. I said I was going to be a millionaire by 25. So with those note taking, it's not just important to have goals in place, but to remind yourself, because you're going to experience some very hard days, some hard weeks, and for some of us, some hard years. But you have to make sure you remind yourself every single day that you are going to be successful. You're going to achieve those dreams, those goals that you seek. So we have another question for everyone. Do you feel like you have everything that you need to be successful? Again, do you feel like you have everything that you need to be successful? So you can select A for I do not have any of the things I need to be successful. I have some, but not merely enough to do what I dream of doing, or I have everything that I need. And again, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just to look at everything from a different viewpoint and different perspective. Again, do you feel like you have everything that you need to be successful? Loving the engagement and responses. Thank you, people. So the reason I share this is because we're about to talk about the power of perception. And with that, you have to learn from children. It's amazing how children, when they see something, they believe it. They say, okay, that has to be what I think it is because I see it. It sounds like it. So do you remember this saying growing up? If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it must be a duck, right? So here's the thing that I had to think about. And we're going to go back to my college time. I had just graduated from Pontiac Central, fresh off of an enjoyable graduation, excited about life, and my first time on campus. So at this time, I'm walking around. I have my throwback Atlanta Hawks jersey on, my do-rag and fitted cap to match, pair of Jordans, just make sure everything matched from head to toe. And as I'm walking around, again, the same positive young man that engaged everyone, I notice people moving on my way. I'm in the hallways, professors that go down a different path. Walking down the sidewalk, students would cross the street just to get to the same point. I'm saying like, why is everyone avoiding me? Here I am, I want to be a millionaire by 25, but everyone is avoiding me. And this is when I learned the power of perception. So for this activity, what I want you all to do is think about what it is that you want to be. For me, I had to ask myself, what does a millionaire look like? So at that time, I was like, you know what? They are clean cut. They usually have on suits, a briefcase, carried themselves very well. And how were they perceived? For me, they were perceived as charismatic, engaging. People gravitated towards them. And it makes sense because the people I was around, they seemed to gravitate away from me. They didn't want to speak. They were terrified, it seemed to me. And I realized that I wasn't giving off that image of success, that image of what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a millionaire, so I needed to start to walk, talk, and act like a millionaire. So what I did that day, I went and got me a dress shirt, a tie, a briefcase that was actually donated to me by a good mentor, and a pea coat. And I kid you not, it was amazing how my entire environment changed. People not only connected with me, they sought me out. They wanted to work with me, collaborate, do partnerships, simply by changing the way I walked, I talked, and I acted. So let's think about this. For those of you who may want to be a doctor, what does a doctor look like to you? Once you get that perception of how they look, do you give off that same feel that you want to be and act like a doctor starting now? Let's go even further. For those of you who may want to be on the honor roll or the dean's list, do you act like an honor roll student? Do you act like a student that wants to be on that dean list or that president's list? Are you putting in the hours? Are you doing the studying? Are you putting forth the effort? That action was so powerful in my own life. And again, I realized that my only barrier to success was myself. The moment I started acting like a millionaire, I started to achieve all those powerful things. So going back to earlier presentation where we talked about Youth of Tomorrow, those pictures I showed, those followed that meeting. Those were those activities and engagements that professor said I could not achieve because I wasn't successful enough. I had to take ownership of my own level of success. He wasn't a barrier to me doing these great things. I was my only barrier. I had to act like a leader. I had to act like I wanted that company to thrive and do great. And the moment I did, it thrived and did great. So let's take a quick second to reflect on what we talked about. So remember, we mentioned the world ends where the mind stops thinking. So right now, there's so many of you that might have your own obstacles that you're overcoming. But don't look at those obstacles as reasons that you can't be successful. Find ways to turn those obstacles into opportunities. You control your success. There are so many resources available to you if you seek them out. So a quick little test for you. We mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, the big three. Number one being take notes. So hopefully you all have a sheet of paper down there in front of you. And you took, like I mentioned, at least 2 notes. That is your first action. If you look down and you say, you know what? I haven't taken any notes, not even one thing. And all I need to do is take 2. Start now. The world ends where the mind stops thinking and you control your success. Lastly, you must act like that in which you want to become. If you want to be this successful person that you speak of, start acting like it. I think for us, it's challenging because we fear the greatness within ourselves. So many of you all are destined to do great things. You just have to learn to embrace it, accept it. You are a leader. You are a powerful person. You are a very highly educated student. You just have to embrace that level of success to seek it. So we're on to another question. And again, this is where we talked about actions. Taking actions is powerful in that success. So are you going to make the necessary changes in your own life to be successful starting today? Now, granted, we have 2 answers. There's still no right or wrong answers. You might select no. You might say, I still need time to assess what it is that I want to do. I have a good idea of what I want to become, but just give me a little bit more time. But the key thing is to set a date and start achieving it. And the second you do that, I can guarantee you're going to see a pivotal shift in your own life. Now, here's a unique thing. Let's say you take these notes, you become successful. You become that doctor, you become that lawyer, that skilled trade person, that educator, that leader within your community, that strong person within your family. I'm gonna share this story with you. I tell my mentor, I'm going to be that millionaire by 25. I'm excited. I have companies, I'm doing some investments, things are going great. He chuckled and just laughed. He's like, oh, Mark, I love that. He's like, I know you're going to be extremely successful. But guess what, Mark? The goal isn't to become a millionaire. It's going to be to stay a millionaire. This was that next level that I had to start processing. So let's say, for instance, if we have somebody out there that wants to be a doctor, you go through these years of schooling, all the training, all the practicing, you get your doctorate, you get your first job as a doctor, you put on that lovely coat with the name badge, you walk in there and say, you know what, I quit. That means nothing. You became that doctor just to lose that level of success you sought, to go right to the beginning. The goal isn't to become a doctor, it's to stay a doctor, to keep learning, to keep helping, to keep saving lives, to keep being innovative. So for me, I had to realize that the goal wasn't to become a millionaire, it was to stay one. So maintaining your new reality. That is going to be the next step in not only seeking the success, but maintaining this new level of success. What we've seen during this last year with this pandemic is we had to learn to do more and more with less and less. Yes, it was very challenging, but here we are still gathered today, which means we overcame some of the most challenging, most difficult obstacles that some of us may have faced, but yet you're still here. So that means you learn to do more and more with less and less to get through adversity. You got to do the same thing with success. Just because you meet this new dream doesn't mean it's going to be any easier than it was before. Now you have to learn to sustain it. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, you now have people that rely on you for their financial well-being. Your actions now impact the lives of many that rely on you to do a great job every single day. For that doctor, your actions will determine if someone lives and at times die based on your ability to execute that procedure, that surgery. If you're a trade person, your skills going to help sustain that building, that area, that house, that home, that family livelihood. There's so many things that take place that you have to realize you now have to maintain this same level of success. From young people as students, to get on the honor roll is good, but to stay on the honor roll is even better. You now have to keep those same practices put in place to be that honor roll student, to stay the honor roll student, to eventually be able to walk across that stage and say, I did it. Now you have to maintain that new reality. I like this one because I didn't come from a financially thriving family. We, as I mentioned, were extremely poor. So I had to realize that good credit is not always a 3-digit number. And by that is your word is your bond. So you have to learn to be true to your word. This handshake is like a 900 credit score for me because people know if I tell them I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through with everything possible to meet that goal, to meet that deadline, to make sure I keep my word. And now if they say, you know what, Mark says he's going to do this, he's going to follow through. That becomes your new credit score. That becomes your influence, your connection, your network, and your resources. Keeping your word is going to be powerful. With that in mind, there are going to be some times where you're not able to follow through. You're not able to meet that deadline. And the one thing I would share with you that so many of us struggle with still today is to follow up with that person. Tell them, you know what? I thought I would get it done by 5 o'clock, but I need just a little bit more time. I thought I'd be able to get this back to you by Tuesday, but you know what? Just give me a little bit more time. Reach out. So many times we completely disconnect and go off the grid and avoid the person. And that alone can hinder and hurt your relationships. But most importantly, that can damage you keeping your word. There's nothing wrong with admitting when you have a setback, because as we seen early on, an obstacle can be an opportunity. It might be something that you need to learn from that small obstacle to prepare you for a big blessing that's still to come. So keep your word, because your word is going to be powerful down the road. Something I think is even more important is sharing your dream. So someone somewhere needs to be inspired by your story. Just as I hope my story is inspiring one of you now, someone is going to need to hear your story. And it's not years down the road, it might be today. Someone might need to hear how you overcome an obstacle, how you beat adversity, how you was able to maintain your own success to inspire them. And think about the positive ripple effect that comes from this. We have so many people sharing positive dreams, positive success, their ability to overcome obstacles. It becomes absolutely encouraging. So young people, make sure that you share your dreams. Write down your notes. Show people how you went from one point to the next point and did so many great things in life. Again, my name is Marc Alexander. I am the president CEO of Lite Tuition. And what I want to do at this time is just open up any questions. As I mentioned, from the beginning to the end, we left some open questions that can be asked at this time, whether it's personal, whether it's about business, about career opportunities. This is now your time to dialogue more. And of course, rule number one, take good notes. So now, with not just myself, but all the speakers this week, you're going to have their contact information, their company websites. Do not hesitate to reach out to any and all of these people. This is now your personal network system, people that you can connect with at any and all times for your own success. Because again, you are in complete control of your own success. Again, my name is Marc Alexander, President and CEO of Lite Tuition, and we're going to open it up for any questions that may be out there right now.
Hi, everyone. As Marc, wow, just amazing opportunity to hear from you and your path, as well as so many learnings. I hope everyone was able to see that in the chat window. I was capturing that for you to take notes. But this is a great opportunity to ask the questions. Ask Marc questions as well. You can use the chat feature, or you can use the Q&A feature. There is at the bottom of your screen Q&A, and you can post a question in there. Marc, I took lots of notes myself.
I appreciate that.
And as you heard from Marc, he said, number one, take notes. And there were a lot. In fact, I actually took a couple screenshots, Marc, have to say. And I'm hoping our attendees as well. Looks like we might have a question coming up here. Okay, this is a good question. What, in your daily life, Marc, running Lite Tuition, what does your typical day look like?
So now it's going to sound crazy. Every day I wake up about 6 and I start off and I jog each morning, because as I mentioned, it's all about discipline. So I go jogging, do my exercise in the morning, and I make sure I sit out and just embrace and be thankful, because my father shared with me some time ago. He's like, son, every day you get 86,400 seconds of life. And you have to make sure you take advantage of those. And there's some people that don't get the opportunity that next day. So I wake up, I enjoy that day. And for me, I go to office, I connect my team. We have our powerful powwow meeting for the day. And we go out there and connect with students, organizations, leaders across the state of Michigan right now to get Lite Tuition going. Now, the blessing that I have to say about entrepreneurship is the ability to work on your own schedule. You still have to stay disciplined, because now that we have Lite Tuition going, we have to keep Lite Tuition going, but just that freedom and flexibility, not to miss out on family functions. I have a wonderful niece, which is my young lady, Aubrey, to be at every powerful memory she have, to be with my wife, my sister, my loved ones. and to cherish those memories. So it's that freedom that I enjoy, but that flexibility that's powerful for us here at Lite Tuition.
It's great to get a peek inside of your world, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you.
And let's see, do we have any questions out there? Aha. We have a question. How do you push yourself to do the difficult and boring things in life to achieve your goals?
I would think for me, knowing how many people rely on me to be successful keeps me going. So you're going to get some of those mundane tasks where I'm like, oh, I do not feel like doing it. But it's amazing. Remember back in the presentation, we talked about having a start date, a due date, and a completion date. So with some of those tasks, it may not be the dream that I want to achieve. It might be something like you have to get up and you have to write this presentation for the team today. I write it down, I set the assigned date. And once I complete it, it's a relief because now I have more free time. If I get it done early in the week, I have a little bit more fun at the end of the week. But I realize every action I do has either a reward or a consequence. I want to reward as many people as possible, which keeps me going.
We have another question, Mark. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. What are some valuable skills you learned from working in corporate America?
Ooh, that's actually a good question. And I have a few responses. The first thing is the power of networking. In corporate America, depending on what industry you're in, sometimes everyone has a standard uniform. So we're taught to blend in and look exactly alike. But I realized there's so much uniqueness behind each person, behind each name badge, that once you learn about them, say, wow, this person has a powerful testimony in that connection. Because one thing you'll see, even for our young people, when you're in school, you have all your people around you all the time. But as you get older and you leave, you're going to have minimum folks. So you have to learn to keep those relationships going, whether it be through social media, phone calls, emails, because those connections are powerful and just rejuvenating yourself and keep your own energy going. And I think the most important is discipline. Some of the previous jobs I worked at in corporate America, every day had a set tone for what you had to do to get accomplished. So for me, going to work was me getting my degree or my master's in entrepreneurship, learning on what days to review your finances, what days to establish your budget, what days to do your meetings, what days to be most productive with marketing. All those things I learned in the corporate world, I can now apply in my own company, which keeps us going.
So I heard networking and discipline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of the questions that you asked earlier, Mark, was about those dreams. You talked about having your dreams or goals, and then having that start date, as you mentioned, and having some kind of accountability, sharing those dreams, right?
Yes.
This is a great opportunity to, if the group, whoever would like to share their dream with us, I think this would be a way to say, hey, this is my dream. If you're interested to share that with us. Well, I think it'll be a good start.
Yeah, I know earlier in the one of those polls, we did have some people that said they have no problem sharing those dreams. So let's hear some of those powerful dreams that are out there. Because again, you can start inspiring not just myself, but my team who's here in the office with us as well today by hearing some of your dreams.
And if you feel like sharing that in the Q&A, so we wouldn't announce your name per se, but at least you'd be sharing it with someone, that is great too. And we can just announce that anonymously. So think about that, because it's a great start and stepping stone. But we do have another question that came up. Mark, what would you do if someone has shared your own trauma publicly without your consent? Is there any way that it will affect your name?
So I'm gonna say yes and no. So the thing is, and going back to the very beginning, this is now an obstacle because I had something like that happen, being in politics, which is challenging. My thing is, how do you turn that obstacle into an opportunity? So one thing I share with you all that I had to overcome was with our own organization, with my own personal life, and I have my father around, it was challenging because a lot of people, when I went to school for college, they thought I had this wonderful family. And I just shared with some of those close friends or those I thought was close, just my own adversity, my shortcomings, and my sadness and anger towards not having that father figure. And when it was shared publicly, it was hurtful. I felt like I lost that person's trust and I felt embarrassed. But then what I realized is once I found a way to use it as a testimony, that obstacle became an opportunity. So I shared, it was at one of our meetings for the students that, hey, I heard you guys heard about my family life. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, we can barely afford to even stay on campus, let alone complete college. Yes, I don't have my father around, but guess what? I'm still standing strong here today. It was amazing that by me owning that obstacle and opportunity and then showing my strength, how much more powerful I became that day, not on campus, but within my own self, because I had nothing that somebody can hang over me anymore. I didn't have to pretend like my life was perfect. Like I had this wonderful established family life growing up. I was able to own my identity. And now by owning my own identity, I was able to control it. So yes, it was challenging. And I learned just being mindful of how I share certain things. My circle became smaller, closer, and tighter. And I realized even through prayer, some things I can share with friends, some things I share with God. And I had to learn that discipline that when I want to say it, give myself at least 3 minutes to say, Mark, do you really want this out there? And how will it be perceived if it does get out? So it was a good learning experience. That was a very great question because it happens to us so much with social media these days. So wonderful question.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing how you dealt with it, Mark, and how you turned it into a strength.
Thank you.
We have, wow, this time has gone by so quickly. We have 10 minutes left for additional questions as well. And no, any question is welcomed. Let's see. And then, Mark talked about having a cheerleader, right? Or having somebody that is supporting you. I believe that was the language that you used. And I don't know if we can ask, like, you had different cheerleaders probably throughout the different points in time, Mark?
Oh yeah. So I know for me, and it's near and dear to my heart, my mom was, and as I said she passed last year, unfortunately, due to spinal meningitis, was one of my biggest cheerleaders that I had. When it came to Lite tuition, she was the first person to test it. That was my cheerleader. I'm very, and going back to our previous question I was asked earlier, I'm very quiet about what I share with everybody. So my mom was who kept me connected with my entire family, friends, the community. She was so proud. Let me tell you what my baby is doing now. So it was even my godmother. I remember her sharing. She's like, your mom told me you got some great things going on, but I have to act like I don't know. So I'm just texting you congratulations. She told the world about what I did and kept me going. And of course, losing her showed me how important it is to have those cheerleaders and then just to cheer your own self on. So she was one of my biggest cheerleaders. Then now I still have my family, my wonderful wife, who's a great cheerleader for me that keeps me going every single day, keeps me motivated. My wonderful sister, who's also involved with Lite tuition, who helps keep me on task and just send those reminders that mom will be so proud of you. My wonderful niece, Aubrey, oh my goodness. She is a 4-year-old that is, she has to be either 40 in her mind or something because she's very wise, articulate. And she calls me Funkle, which means fun uncle. And she just looked at me one day. She's like, Funkle, you're doing a good job. And those words from, at that time, a 3-year-old were so powerful. I had to hold it together. I was like, so good. But it kept me going. I said, you know what, Mark? She's relying on you to do great. She's going to look at you as one of those examples of success. So I had to keep going. And then just even my other loved ones, family members, the community, students, you all for this opportunity. So thank you for helping cheer on Lite tuition and what we're doing here.